For all your Mets here,
excited?
let's go. Bring it home. Bring it home. Bring it home. Let's go. Let's go.
Tell me when to stop. No, let's keep it going.
Make it happen. There's no stopping us now. We're gonna do it again. It's not a question of how. It's just a matter. It's just a matter. It's just a matter of when.
Hello again, everybody. Joe Piscopo, Shea Stadium. The big story. Mets 86. Exciting, thrilling, awesome. Let's take a look.
Do it. Do it. Let's go.
Getting crazy, but I'm also hot.
We got the teamwork to make the dream work. We got the teamwork to make the dream work. We got the teamwork to make the dream work.
They did have to
Ooh, we got the teamwork to make the dream work. We're gonna make it this time. We're gonna take it home. Let's go. Let's go. Oh, let's go.
Right.
Let's go. Let's
Woo! Oh my God! Wow!
Wow, the energy back then.
Oh my gosh, I love that song, that video. It reminds
That
me
team.
the old times that I would play that over and over and
Yeah.
over again.
Yeah.
And I would play the World Series games over and over. I recorded them on my VHS tape. Just stick it in, watch it again and again
Yeah.
and again.
And in Spanish, we say recordar es vivir.
So
To
were
remember is to live.
Okay, so were you were here though?
No, I was
you
in
were
Venezuela.
So
Yeah.
were you watching all the games?
Oh yeah, I was watching that, and
So-
that's when I fell in love with the Mets because
So that's so
that team.
exciting. So
Yeah.
was it? So it was just broadcast on
Yeah.
local television,
Yeah.
and
Every game you can watch every game of the season. There, it's not just the important games.
so was it just certain teams that you could watch, or
No, you
was
can-
it like different teams that you
There's
were
networks
watching?
that would show all the games.
and you could watch all the Met games.
Yes.
Oh my
Well, I
gosh.
didn't until like after that. Until after that World Series because I became a fan. and
Yeah, so you
I
got,
got hooked.
hooked. You got
I
you
go
got
hooked on that
hooked,
mustache.
And then you were looking at Keith Hernandez. All right, we got it, Keith. Yeah. So
Yes.
so those were
Hi,
just
everybody.
so amazing times. We're talking about the 86 Mets because both Gooden and Strawberry's numbers are going to be retired. And it's like a important kind of moment for the Mets to have these players be
Mhm.
recognized by the organization in retiring their numbers. It's not something that obviously every player gets their number retired. So it's a special
Yeah. Will they make it to the Hall of Fame? We don't know.
That's another
All the
story.
other bad boys
Yeah.
make it to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, so I mean, it's very controversial too.
I think so. Yeah. Like I'm not a huge fan of the Hall of Fame. I don't think I don't think it's like the authority on who deserves recognition.
For me, it's like the whole process of getting in the Hall of Fame and the sports writers voting. It's like who gives them the authority to say who should be in it and who should not. And the thing about it is, it's kind of it's subjective. You know that there are some players that it's kind of cut and dry, right?
And there's some players that deserve it and they're still not getting it. And there's certain people in the organization that vote. When they don't like a player, they're not gonna vote for this player. So I don't think it's a fair system.
And sometimes it's the relationship with the media specifically.
Yeah, what do you guys think? We should ask.
Yeah,
right?
and I want to know. So specifically about Gooden and Strawberry, it's very controversial about their numbers being retired even before maybe somebody like Gary Carter.
Yeah, like Greg was just asking.
So
no wait.
Oh, see, so
he's asking if Gary Carter should be retired, and we were talking about it, right? Because he played most of his career with
the Expos,
the Montreal Expos.
Yeah, so I mean, some people, I was looking at Facebook and I was getting some feedback, and people are like, "Let the Washington Nationals, who came from the Expos, let them retire his number." But
look, Yogi had 8 too.
Yeah. So I know, right? Like, what do you do with that? But Yogi Berra as a manager, and the 73, was such an important part of the Mets history too.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting too. Talk about numbers. This is kind of a little sidetrack, but it goes in line with your Hernandez. Is that Hernandez was 37 before he was 17. And that was Casey Stengel's number that they retired. And they said, listen, you have to change your number. And he liked the number 7 at the end. So he picked 17. And nobody else is
gonna take that number.
Well, he's already retired the number. I was there. I saw it. Yeah.
I know, but nobody was gonna take it.
I mean, the thing is, this
he would have to give it, and he's not going to give it.
So it's the controversy. I'm going to fix my hat here. The controversy about both Strawberry and Gooden too, and I want to bring that up because they had so many problems, not only personal issues, but also legally, getting in trouble, the abuse with drugs, with domestic violence, that sort of thing. It was just so prominent in their lives. And, I want to get feedback from you guys on, how do you feel about
It's not like, do they deserve it? I mean, I think they probably deserve some recognition, because if we're going to recognize them as players, yes, definitely yes. But there's always that personal factor that, they weren't bad people. The drugs make them do bad things,
right?
For sure.
The demons from the drugs,
But as players, I think they certainly deserve it. It's just funny that they're like coupling them, like Doc and Darryl and Doc.
Maybe there's something about that, putting them together. Let's just get it over with together,
Yeah. What about Ronnie? Ronnie needs to be.
I don't know. I don't know if he's worthy statistically. So I would just the focus on Strawberry and Gooden, so fantastic as true Mets, called up from the farm system. Both were drafted. Gooden was drafted number 5 and Strawberry number 1, and they played pretty immediately after their draft. Obviously, we know Gooden played when he was so young, 19 years old.
Yeah.
And Strawberry too, he came up right away. And I think that has an impact too. The fact that they didn't play for another organization, that they're homegrown.
Mm-hmm.
And, their statistics are off the charts, right? We know what they did for the Mets. And, the question is separating, right? Like the personal from the professional and how we do that. So let's hear
Emily says she thinks it's important to take into consideration the time it was New York in the 80s. That's true.
Yeah, so that's true. And the other thing about it, the 80s, I remember, I was young in the 80s, but I was an adult. And, we didn't think that certain things would impact us.
Mm-hmm.
For example, even certain drugs, like cocaine was the prominent drug. It was, not only for athletes and stars, like movie stars, Wall Street, business people were taking it. And nobody really thought that it would kill anybody until Lenny Bias had died, who was the draft pick of the Boston Celtics. So for that, like that happened in the 80s, that happened in 86. People were like, oh my gosh, somebody died of cocaine. So I think then it was only after that that people said, wow, this is terrible. This is a really bad drug and people can die from it. And
I just think it's a little like they just pick who. I mean, their baseball, their stats are there, but I think we should stick to baseball and instead try to stay away from their personal issues. And I tell myself that because there's certain players that are in the Hall of Fame, which I don't really. That's why I don't think it's. I don't know. I just don't think.
Like Ty Cobb.
Yeah. He was a bad boy.
Bad boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
what do you guys think? You guys think we should take the personal into consideration? Not that we're the voting committee, but
I think it's a legitimate question because I've seen it out there, like, from fans is do fans out there say, oh my gosh, they shouldn't be included because of their personal background? Okay.
Yeah. Too bad Doug didn't have a perfect game for the Mets. I know.
Yeah. He had a perfect game for the Yankees of all teams. That was pretty bad.
Hard to believe that Doug missed the parade. Oh, well, he was messed up.
So that was the thing too, is like, we didn't even know until after. And, in the 87, beginning of the year, we realized that Doc had this drug issue and he ended up being suspended because he tested positive. And then later it came out that he missed the parade because he was out like getting drugs, and just so sad. And it's such a young kid to be struggling like that in his life and being so talented and having just won the World Series.
It's very young to
to me, it's very sad. And I don't look at like sad, like I'm a Met fan based, like it's sad for our team and as a fan. I look at sad for him as a person.
Yeah.
Like you don't ever want anybody to struggle like that and to have something like take over their lives.
Yeah, well, they're still running around. Mar said, in the big picture, what matters is they're clean and sober now. Yes.
Are they? I mean, it wasn't that long ago that they were.
I don't take into account the symmetry, their personal life. This goes for Tiger Woods, for me as well. True. Yeah. I mean, so we have to, so far.
And you know what?
Personal struggle shouldn't be a reason. Thank you, Emily.
And you hope that they can overcome this and whatever they're struggling with the demons inside them, that they can, get a clean slate on life, because that's what it is. Like
Yeah.
they're being basically, an addict is being controlled by whatever
Mhm.
substance they're
Yeah,
taking,
and
and
they
you
were
want them
like,
to have that clean, be able to.
but there's
to
also the
escape that.
drinking and the brawls and
Yeah.
the fights and everything. I think part of that mentality they had then is like they were just having fun. That was their idea of fun, like that plane ride, the famous plane ride.
I mean, or the brawl in Houston, and
Yeah.
there were so many instances. I kind of like look back and for myself, because we
Yeah,
don't want to judge, right? I mean,
No,
right?
of
Like
course
we've
not.
had, at least for me, I can talk for myself, like as a college, freshman. I don't want anybody to look back at my college freshman year and say, "Oh my God, she was
Yeah.
out doing this and drinking or whatever," and they have
Betting
that.
on the Braves.
It's everything is magnified, though. Cut it out. I wish I was a college student in the 90s, but it was the 80s.
Emily said, yeah, Strawberry's huge in the recovery community. He has like a foundation or something. I think.
Yeah.
That's
It's
good.
just like he's struggled so much to stay on top of being
Once too
sober.
many and hundreds not enough. Yep.
Mm,
Yep.
yeah.
Tell that to I don't know. Keith.
Yeah.
They had kegs in the dugout too.
That's the other thing. I think too, like Emily said about the 80s and that environment, there was a lot of enabling.
Mhm.
And just the fact that you could smoke in the dugout, you had kegs in the dugout, you had party. Davy Johnson was in the bars with the players when they were out on the road. There wasn't that curfew that you hear about with other teams, like, you have to be in bed 10 o'clock. You have a game the next day. There was a lot of partying, and it just contributed to that bad behavior.
For sure. So Marge said Lawrence Taylor, best player ever, was taking plenty of drugs, including cocaine, when he played for the Giants.
Yeah. And it's so sad. And we look at these athletes, and it's not just athletes, it's famous people, really, because it's movie stars, and
it's so easy for them. It's just so easy to
it's
do
easy. They have the money. So that's number one. They have the means.
They're going to be approached to They don't even have to. Sometimes they don't even have to pay for it. They just give it.
Right. And let me tell you, it is, once you're addicted, you're a slave to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you want more and more, and it's just a vicious cycle, and it's hard to get out of. And it's horrible that they even go through that.
Yeah, Jay said that Doc and Stroh were the 86 Mets in New York. Were in New York baseball in the 80s, and at the end they were world champs, ripped to shreds, and still survived. True.
Yeah.
I wish our current Mets had a little bit of that cockiness and sort of drive. I mean, we've been losing terrible, but there needs to. I'm just going somewhere with getting hit and everything. I think there needs to be at least a minimum of dignity that they need to keep with this team, because they keep getting hit and they're not doing anything. Sorry,
it's so interesting. I mean, to your point, like, we love that team, even though they were bad boys. We love them because they were so feisty, and not only they were feisty off the team, but on the field too. And you saw it on the field. They were gonna like protect each other and fight. And that's, to your point, is like, you want to see that, because that shows this kind of
camaraderie and like teamwork and
standing up for each other. And like, look, Mark says he's glad they both survived. I think about that too, because like I said, Lenny Bias died of cocaine, and he was, the number 1 draft pick for the Boston Celtics. And it's so easy for someone to just, lose their life over these drugs.
Mhm.
And I don't think, like, I just remember in the 80s, like, thinking, you know, who cares? We're all having fun, you know,
Yeah.
until somebody dies, right? Until somebody loses their life. And thank God they didn't lose their life, and they have children and they have loved ones.
Yeah,
and
we're all
that's
happy
the
they
other thing, is like,
survived.
they're people, not just baseball players.
Yeah.
They're people.
Oh yeah, they're people.
They're dads. They're, you know, they're.
So Jay Bugs said that Ray Knight was his favorite. Let's just ask everybody who's the. You all
who
know
was
who my
your
favorite
in
is.
86?
So I don't have-
and Ray Knight, we were talking about this before we even came on, about what happened, that they didn't have the team intact for 87 that they had in 86. We were like, why break up a team that just won the World Series?
Yeah,
and that's what they did.
Mhm.
And Ray Knight was one of those key players who
Yeah.
ended up, you know, not
I think
being
they
part of
started
the
with
team.
they started with Dykstra, trading him, and then I think they had McDowell, Backman, Wilson, and Aguilera also traded. And some say the Mets fans still blame Cashin for not keeping the '86 Magic team together, and maybe having a little bit of that magic continue for a few more years.
I mean, for sure, Knight was this catalyst, and they got rid of him, and I thought that was
March
that
likes
was a
Ray
big
Knight
one.
too.
Yeah, and of course, Lenny Dykstra. The thing about him, he's very controversial too, because he went on to Philadelphia and hit all these home runs, and I'm not sure if it was proven that he was taking steroids, but I think he was. I'll have to go back and look. But, you know, he, like, people were like, oh my God, look what he's doing for Philadelphia. Like, yeah, but he might be taking drugs to do it.
Jay said that Knight was let go the day after the World Series. Wow.
I just, oh my gosh, my uncle Skip was, you know, he's rolling in his grave right now, because that was horrendous back then. And that was bad. And you know what? You know what's so interesting? Is that the Mets, what they did really, really well in 86 was they platoon players. Because I was thinking about this. Not only did Knight play, but Kevin Mitchell played. So Mookie Wilson played in the outfield, and you had different platoons going on and different positions, and Backman and Tuffle, and so
that day they had Carter,
you know, they
on
had
third
like
base.
different players go. You know, it was it worked. It worked, but you just don't see
because it was
that
like a
as
combination
much.
of veterans and young players working well.
Yeah, and also just, you know, just a good, you know, you had the lefty righty combos going. What was the comment before that you put up? I don't know what you put up.
I know I put a few, but I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, tell me what's
Jay about the 84-85 Doc. He was pure magic.
Yeah,
Doc Gooden.
So, you know, Doc Gooden, you know, and Strawberry, both Rookie of the Year. Just phenomenal statistics. Doc Gooden had that year that probably one of the best years by any pitcher ever, to win 24 games. I think he had like 260 strikeouts, something ridiculous. ERA really low, WHIP low. And, you know, one of the things too that they talk about was that in that period of time, not only from when Gooden came up to the World Series, was his usage. They used him so much that, you know, how people say, oh, it was the drugs that caused him to deteriorate. It wasn't the drugs entirely. It was also the way the Mets had used him, because he pitched so much.
Yeah, they wore him out.
They did.
Yeah. March is saying that Lenny was great, very feisty and sliding into first. Yep. Jay said that Dykstra played another year with the Mets, came back 40 pounds heavier. Yes.
Yeah, the steroids. Yeah. So, and it was Dykstra and Mookie in center, and Tuffle and Backman at second.
And then Marge named her cat Mookie.
No, of course. I bet you he was really fast.
Yeah, so this is pretty sad and true, Nick. Nick said his daughter had a first day of school today, and she loves her science teacher. And she asked him how stars die, and he said normally drugs.
Oh my
Drugs
goodness.
are-
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that is surreal. So, so
Any fans? Any Lenny Dykstra fans? Because he was, I think, probably the wildest one.
he was one, and then he had all his controversy after, but we could go on about that. But I don't think they'll
Yeah.
ever retire.
And he would chew on that stuff.
Like,
all
I mean,
time.
the question too is who would be retired next? Jersey. And I think Gary Carter, despite being in Montreal
Yeah.
so long and being connected to the Expos and that organization, I think the Mets should definitely retire Gary's number.
Oh yeah, you're right, Marge. All the SNL cast. Oh wow, you're right.
Yeah.
And great comedy.
Right. And I just watched a special on Woodstock, and when I saw all those guys out there and knowing that they died shortly after of drug overdoses, so sad.
Mar says Piazza, Jay says Carter. Oh, Piazza
He's been retired.
he's been retired.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was a question.
Yeah, so Carter, yeah, definitely Carter.
Mhm.
And they've done recognitions for him, especially
Yeah.
after his passing, but not retiring his number. And it's true, like that is Yogi Berra's number too. So what do you do? Like,
I don't think they haven't solved that puzzle
Like,
yet.
Maybe retire
Carter,
both of them.
Right.
Maybe that's why they haven't, because they're like, oh gosh, what do we do? But you know what? Yogi, to me, even though he was the manager in '73, he's a Yankee to me. Like, he belongs
We can
Yankee
claim
Stadium.
Yogi.
I know. You
We
got to
have
believe,
we have
right?
some Yogi.
That was the Yogi saying. So what?
Wasn't it Tuck? Wasn't it the pitcher?
Who?
Tuck.
Tuck?
Yeah. Tuck McGraw, didn't he?
Oh,
the one-
Tug.
He's
Tug.
Tug. Isn't he the one who did the You Gotta Believe?
Yes.
Yogi
But it
was it's not over
73.
till it's
It's over. Yeah.
okay.
All right, you straighten me out there.
No, I just want to make sure I'm not
it's true.
wrong.
Tug McGraw. Yeah.
Tug McGraw.
So, he's
But-
another one. Yeah.
Tug, thank you. It's funny because my saying right now is I'm going from You Gotta Believe to You Gotta Be Kidding Me. So we have to go from You Gotta Believe to You Gotta Be Kidding Me.
So, if we're going to talk a little bit about the Mets now, like, not necessarily compared to 86, but just now.
Christina says, oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
One more comment. Me and my friends were
Play
MLB 2005 the other day on the Wii. Piazza Reyes Beltran. Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. Okay. See that? That's my girl.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So
no, I was just thinking about now, what we have to look forward to, and it's usually like something like a pigeon being on the
pigeon.
field. I mean, like, it's kind of sad though that the Mets now we're excited about the pigeon and we're excited about Ohtani,
well,
right? I mean,
there's a
those,
question here from Nick. I don't know why were the 86 Mets compared to chiropractors? Is anybody?
Oh, this is a joke, right?
This is a
Because
joke?
they broke
Oh,
everybody's
because they
back.
were crack addicts.
Oh, that's terrible, Nick. Okay, you're banned.
Thank you for the joke.
Oh my gosh!
Wow. All right. So
So-
you want to show the pigeon? Did anybody see the pigeon?
Just for grins and giggles,
Just
that's
for-
what we like
Okay.
saying. Let's
Cue the pigeon.
let's see what we have to look forward to.
Wait, why isn't it? What's happening? Why isn't it playing?
I don't know.
I don't know why it's not playing. It's supposed to be
Yeah.
playing.
Hold on.
Weird.
Okay, well, we'll just kind of talk about it a little.
Oh my God, the pigeon froze.
Okay, yeah, the pigeon's not moving, but that was like the big thing.
No, this is weird.
Of
It's
yesterday
it's
is
not
that
loading.
there was a pigeon that didn't want to leave.
This pigeon is
Citi
not
Field.
really helping us today either. Anyway, the pigeon
But-
wouldn't move, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of that's where we're at for this year.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, couple things. We're kind of looking for.
I
like,
think we have
fun
to
stuff.
probably pay the pigeon to show him here. That's what's happening. He's starting to
Yes.
charge people.
It's like, man, you didn't sign a contract. Yeah.
Yep, the pigeon didn't
So-
want to leave.
And so that was one thing. Unfortunately, we can't show it, but we the other thing was, I know we have Emily on, and she was at the Friday night's game, and Otani was in attendance and
Mhm.
in attendance on the field, hitting, not pitching.
Mhm.
And the ballpark was pretty full because of Otani. So
A lot
it's-
of Otani fans for sure.
and it's interesting that they continue to play him and he's injured and he's not pitching.
They just need him
um,
for the show, I guess.
Yeah, and does California really care? Because you know what? They're probably not going to sign him. So I wanted to get some feedback on that because
Yeah, Emily was there. Emily, were they booing Epler? Can you give us any dish?
Yeah, were they not the booing him? Were they trying to woo him over to
No,
the Mets?
Well, Epler,
right? I mean, that was their
because
thing.
nobody likes Epler, so I'm wondering if when he was on the field, if they were.
But I think she's
Heckling.
saying that Epler was there
Oh
because
yeah,
of Otani
obviously.
and trying to bring him on. Oh yeah, I'm curious too. Anybody boos Epler when they see him?
No booze. Okay,
No
he got
booze.
lucky that night.
I mean, I
rooting
think
for Ohtani for
they're
sure.
very hopeful, right, that he's going to make some moves that will help the Mets in the off season. So
Well, now
we're kind of stuck with him.
he might go for cheaper now that he needs Tommy John.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
doubt it, but you know what? That should factor in. Maybe certain teams will fall off.
You
the
normally
list.
do that when you buy a car, like if it has a little problem, the car, you kind of knock the price down a little
Yeah,
bit.
like Correa. I mean, we all went through that due diligence, and teams said nope.
Yeah.
we're not signing him. The Mets
Oh,
were one of
Correa.
them. Yeah,
Correa.
Correa. Yeah. So, and thank God, because he hasn't had a good year. So
Yeah, that was we dodged that one for sure.
yeah. So, and then we have Texas, but we're not going to see Scherzer. So, no drama there.
No, he's not on the. Okay, so Emily said that she heard Otani and his agent are behind him playing now while he waits for a second. Oh, okay, so he's waiting for a second opinion.
But it's so interesting. You're playing now, but you're hurt. Like, who would do that? And I
never heard of somebody already.
it's crazy. So there have been players this year, pitchers in particular, who've had fatigue arms, who
Mhm.
have gone on the IL because of fatigue arms. So they don't necessarily even have an injury. They're just like tired and
Yeah.
they go on the IL to rest.
It shows that
and-
he's actually human.
Well, why wouldn't he be? Well, I know why he wasn't on the IL, but if I had something worth so much, I would protect it. I
Mhm.
would have put him on the IL, even if it was like the 10-day IL, something like the minimum amount of time, just to rest him.
Emily said that he declined imaging earlier in the season.
So interesting.
That's not-
Yeah.
he can get away with that.
Well, you know what? Let's remember that too, because if the Mets are going to go after him and he's somebody who's going to be difficult about his health and taking care of himself, we have to factor that in.
Yeah.
And you don't want to give somebody a long-term contract who doesn't want to follow proper protocol because, any team will make sure that you're healthy before you go out there and play.
Yeah, that does make
I-
sense.
It's crazy. So,
I know. Okay, there was a comment here.
yeah, let's see what other comments we have.
Um,
Greg, maybe. Oops.
You're gonna move the
Oh, we're
table down.
moving a little bit here, so it's not an earthquake, but things are moving.
Just a comment from Greg that if we're interested, Davy Johnson wrote a memoir 5 years ago about his career, talks both about 69 and 86. I'm halfway through it reading it. It's pretty good. My wild ride in baseball and beyond.
I love that.
Ooh,
So-
yes,
So
definitely.
yeah, Greg shared a little bit with me earlier, and it seems like something I would be so sold on, and I would love to read that. The only book that I read like from the 86 team was Keith Hernandez, If at First, that his book, his
Okay.
first book. And that was kind of wild. So it's just so interesting to get that perspective. And Davy Johnson to get his not only coaching perspective, but as a player who played against the Mets in '69. So ironic.
Yeah, that's a
for
good
him,
book for sure.
for him to be playing, to be coaching the Mets in '86, but have lost to the Mets as a Oriole.
So Jay said that they were crack addicts that won 108 games. Yeah, and then
So
Very good.
according to Keith Hernandez and his book, there were like 40% of the MLB players were on cocaine during the 80s. At
some got
point.
caught, some didn't.
I mean, who even knows like
Yeah.
if that statistic is true? But that was his thing, and Hernandez was involved in this whole case against one of the drug dealers, and that's how like certain players, it was disclosed that they were users. And
some got more of a spotlight on that,
Mhm.
and some didn't, but they were all like
and like I said, people just thought that was the thing to do. Like, it's sort of like, we have the liquid drug too, right? Alcohol. And, people drink and
Yeah.
people go, oh, who cares, right? But that's kind of the way cocaine, even though it was illegal, people were like, what's the big deal?
Yeah. It's just
So-
weird
so-
that it's like it was happening between innings and
Well, there was
It's just
so
wild.
much. Yeah. I mean, like it's prominent, if
it's
you
not like
look
they were
at-
going home and
but it's not
doing
even
it. It was
just-
like at the ballpark.
Well, the thing too is like they're athletes. Like they
Mhm.
their whole life, like, taking care of their bodies and getting in shape and preparing and training to be the best you can be, and then putting drugs in your body. But
Jay said they had amphetamines right next to
Oh.
the coffee pots.
oh god.
Yeah, it's nuts.
So crazy, but
Anything
anything
so
else?
we're not
that we-
gonna wait. So we're not gonna face Scherzer.
We're not facing Scherzer
Okay,
for this series. So we have Texas. I don't even know the matchups. I didn't focus on them.
Okay.
They're going to be playing in like 2 minutes. They're going
Yeah,
to be
we should.
starting.
We need to like.
And so, we're going to be ending the podcast. But you know what? Let's just hope for competitive games. I mean, that's the best.
Watchable games.
Yeah, we want
Not
them to-
embarrassing games.
we want them to play hard and and like I said, just put themselves in good situations. And I don't even want to tell you what I thought about like in some of these weekend games, as they were driving me a little bit nuts, but they had that win yesterday, which was nice. And so let's just hope that
Hold me closer, oh
Like
tiny
consent.
dancer. Nick, you're on fire.
Yeah.
That was good. Well, okay, so
So thank you for joining us. I
Mhm.
want to say that I love you guys. You are terrific, subscribers and participants, and people watch this after we were live and they view it at any time. And so I appreciate you guys. And share it.
and participating and your energy.
Yes.
You guys make the podcast
Yes.
because it would be so boring just the two of us
I know.
talking.
And I appreciate it.
So we love your comments and your participation, and keep them coming.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Tom, if you watch this later, we
I
miss you.
know,
Tom,
we
come
miss you.
back.
Red Sox are doing great.
Yes. Thank you all.
Thank you.
There's Brenda dropping stuff. Oh, that's...
Bye, guys.
Bye.